So, looking at what the state of women's wrestling was like when you were in the business as a creative, and you look at women's wrestling in 2022, what do you see the biggest differences in as how the women are being booked then versus now?
Bro, the whole women's revolution. Let's just please be honest here, bro. It was the positioning of Stephanie McMahon. It was all about Stephanie McMahon and putting her in a PR position of power. That's what it was all about. I am glad, bro, all these women are. I was always a huge advocate for women's wrestling. Bro, people forget one of my first friends when I started working for the WWE in 1994, around then, was Medusa. Bro, people forget there wasn't even a woman's title. And then when there was a woman's title, it was Medusa, and they would bring in an opponent for her, Bull Nakano. That is it. So I was always an advocate for women's wrestling because, bro, from day one, they were always treated as second-rate citizens. The boys didn't like the idea of any female taking a spot. It was a very, very sexist company. And I was always fighting for women and always pushing for women. But I just don't think the women's evolution was sincere. It was all about Stephanie McMahon and the empowerment and all that jazz. I mean, bro, we saw they had one pay-per-view. Okay, then what? Well, what happened after that? But, like I said, man, I'm glad they're on TV. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and say I don't like to watch women wrestle on TV. I don't. I sometimes I have a problem, bro, when they try to wrestle like the men, because they're not built like the men. Their anatomy and physiology is different, and that's the thing, man. I don't want to see them get hurt. I mean, I do not want to see them get hurt. So when they try to do what the men do, sometimes that upsets me because I just don't think they're built to do the same stuff.
Fondly. There was, however, a little bit of backlash, with no pun intended, with this past weekend. But from Mattel, with a toy featuring you and a certain mannequin head. Did you ever personally get approached by anyone about that, be it on the road or at home, with some of the issues they had with that toy when it first launched?
Well, the only thing that on the road or whatever, I had done a promo photo in ECW where I was holding the base like this, like my hands wrapped around the base and had it in front of me, and was making the crazy face and big smile and all of that. And a women's group, we ran at a college. I forget what college it was, and a women's group was outside protesting against violence against women because they said that I looked like I was choking the mannequin head, and which, listen, I honestly, and I look, I don't ever condone violence against anybody. I really don't. I mean, there's no, there are reasons. I mean, let's face it, there are reasons, but at some point, I mean, you just can't condone it against anybody, male or female, old, senior citizen, middle-aged, child. You just, come on, it's ridiculous. But what person in their right mind is going to walk past a promo photo of me or an action figure of me, and then is on the drive home and goes, I've had a horrible day. If Elaine makes me that stupid macaroni and cheese one more time, I'm going to punch her in the face. And this was all brought on because they saw my action figure or that photograph. I mean, that is the most ridiculous stretch that you can come up with, But it's, these two women that were assistant professors of communications at a college in Georgia saw my action figure. And again, without doing any actual research, not doing any homework, not watching the show, they never watched the show. They automatically assumed that it was a decapitated woman's head when all it was a popped off Barbie doll head. It didn't even look like a decapitated head at all. and wrote a letter to the Atlanta Constitution proclaiming that my action figure was a training manual for future spousal users. So, look, when does the era of McCarthyism or the Salem witch trials come to an end? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I was ahead of the curve because I was cancel culture before cancel culture became a thing, you know, and so Walmart, of course, red flag, big signal flare, and they pulled it. And still, I'm on the list of the top 22 things that Walmart still won't sell because of the fact that they feel it's a threat to modern society. And I'm number 5 on that list. My action figure is number 5. Number 1 is pregnant Barbie. So that slut beat me out. But you can go in any Walmart in the United States, buy a weapon and ammo and a hunting knife to cut up your victim. So that's okay. You know what I mean? But the fact that I can be a training manual for future spousal abusers, my action figure, is just, that makes complete sense. And 2 weeks later, Johnny Depp's movie, Sleepy Hollow, came out. And in there were action figures that were released 2 weeks later with actual decapitated, bloody stumps of heads, both male and female, in the action figures. And nobody said a word, didn't say a word. So it was great. I mean, I wrote a thank you letter to them because it made me a national news event for a week and a half. Time magazine did a story on it, which is insane. But, which brings up the question I've asked of late, which is, and I agree. I mean, it was a big public outcry. I mean, everybody decried Will Smith slapping Chris Rock on stage. And you should never be able to do that to someone just because you don't like a joke, which I get it. And you're right. You can't. But apparently in today's society, it's okay if you saw a joke that was made by Kevin Hart 8 years prior, you can do everything you possibly can to destroy his livelihood and his career and life and his reputation because of the same reason, which makes no sense to me. That you can't physically slap. I'd rather you just slap me than to literally destroy and dismantle my life because of something you got offended by that I said God knows when. You know what I mean? And I don't understand in today's society why it's okay to do one and not the other.
People, and I don't subscribe to the I'll sit back and people need to come to me. Like, that's such a passé concept in 2022.
That was my follow-up question based on everything you were saying. I was going to follow it up with, do you think some of the antiquated ways of thought are kind of becoming exactly that, antiquated, with the whole you have to ride with the vet and carry his bags and drive his car? Do you think wrestling's moved past that now then?
Yeah, I think so. And if people are still doing that, I think you pay your respect to people, right? Like you being around, had been lucky enough to be around some very successful people in this business, but and you always want to show respect and be respectful, but like this whole antiquated notion of like you're going to break in the greenhorns and you're going to make them respect you and carry your bags and beat the hell out of them in a battle royal and whatever, like it's man, I'm glad that stuff is going, because I never liked it anyways, and it probably got me in more trouble. I'm the type of person, just like I'll always give respect where it's due, but I don't care who you are, what you've done. If you disrespect me, there are people in this pro wrestling business who have done more than I've ever dreamed of. They've made more money than I can ever think of, and I just think they're pieces of garbage because of the way they treated me as a nobody. I just don't think there's. I've always said this, right? There's no more wrestling. To me, there's no more wrestling business. There's just business, right? There's just business and just being a decent human being. And if you're just a good person and you know some basic fundamental business principles that would apply to any industry, you're going to be okay in pro wrestling. Don't get caught up in my advice to young guys or young guys, young gals. Don't get caught up in the politics or the, antiquated ways of wrestling, because, I don't know, it's tired. Let's just have fun, right? Let's learn. Let's make it better. Let's make it comfortable for people to ask questions without making them feel stupid. And I'm not saying like I haven't made mistakes in the past. I mean, Lord knows I've made mistakes in the past, but yeah, I think if those are dying concepts in 2022.
Because the rest of the time I'm just going to fumble through it and sound like a Mark who likes to talk about wrestling. So that's just all it is.
Man, that's what we all are, brother. I love it.
So I'm going to start with something kind of fresh. It seems to be a hot topic for you, literally and figuratively. I'm going to say 3 things, and you can just give me your best current opinions on these things. The IWA Mid-South, Ian Rotten, and a certain set of title belts that were lit on fire.
Yeah, Ian owed me some money, so took him about a month to like actually get a answer out of him, for him to actually talk to me. He ghosted me a few weeks. I did a Twitter post probably a week and a half, 2 weeks before I set both the IWA World and Junior Championships on fire. But my opinion about IWA, I think they got great young talent. But as far as Ian Rotten goes, he's always kind of been a cancer in this business. And I'm a big believer that you give people second chances. And, that's exactly what I gave Ian. I believe that he was going to change, like he said he was changing, to be a positive person that people could look up to this business. So I gave him that chance. And then once he, backpedaled or took that away from the relationship that him and I had, I just knew that he was just going to continue to give me the runaround. So, I'm a big believer in don't let your kindness be weakness, and don't let people take advantage of that. And that's exactly what I let Ian do. There was a few shows that I gave him forfeited my full pay to make sure the younger guys got paid, got a little bit of extra money, in their pockets so they could, get gas or get, food on the road. So there was a few times that I did that for him. There was a couple times I felt bad for him and just gave him my payday because, there was no fans there, and it just literally felt bad. And I was in a position in my life where, maybe the pay I didn't need it as much. Fast forward, now times is hard for anyone and everyone. And he owed me my house payment. Literally my house payment. So, I had to do what I had to do, and the rest is history. He burnt that bridge, so I burned his belts.
You bringing up AJ, coming into it, there's been so many greats. AJ, Cena, the Dudleys recently, the final table. You guys had a chance to close that chapter of your careers with them, everything you guys and Bubba and Devon have done together. Do you feel like going into that match and everything, that was the ending it should have been? Was that what you guys wanted and hoped with Bubba Ray and Devon?
I felt like it was pretty flawless on all ends, and I think I even was flashing back towards the end of the match, and just like our match at Madison Square Garden, the first ever tag team tables match, putting Devon through the table, and me and Devon hanging up there. Just so many memories from some big shows back in the day, and I think it was a beautiful ending to the Dudley Boys' career.
I was ecstatic.
Team 3D, sorry.
Team 3D.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah.
I was ecstatic with the match and really happy with it. And the most important priority we had during that match was to make sure that we got Devon through in one piece, because he'd had the health issues in the past, and he'd worked super hard to get into the best shape that he possibly could and to get clear to have this match, and we wanted to protect him throughout the match, and we knew we were going to have to carry the majority of the workload. Those guys hadn't been working a ton as it was, so it was a great feeling. When we came out, it felt like we were on a WWE WrestleMania. The crowd was so excited for the match. They were so hyped. And then once we got out of there, the crowd was chanting, Hardys, Hardys, Dudleys, Dudleys, and then, holy shit. And then, this is awesome. And we had to actually start the match for them to stop chanting, which is the greatest compliment, because they were emotionally invested in what we were doing, and they had all this stuff they were wanting to do. When the match was all said and done, I felt like we layered in enough of the athleticism and the carnage of breaking tables, Jeff jumping off the big ladder. We did all those things where it made people feel like, wow, their match at Royal Rumble 2000, they did something very similar to it. But this one had like such an emotional investment, especially the end. We knew Devon, this was going to be his last match if we got him through it. But they absolutely surprised us that we had no idea they were going to do it when they both took off their boots. And then they gave us their boots, as opposed to just leave them in the ring. That was a really unique scenario. What'd you say after that?
After what?
After they took off their boots and gave them to us.
Oh yeah, and we came in the back, and I was like, what? I didn't even know what it was. I said, is this a thing? And Matt said, it is now. And so it sure is.
Because it has been a tradition that guys have done where they've taken off their boots and they leave them in the ring, and that means that their career's done. But we had no idea that they were both going to retire as Team 3D. So it was a very, very cool moment.
For any idiot that thought that Swanton went wrong or whatever, that was a perfection example of taking care of a brother, like during a spot like that.
What Jeff is even referencing, I don't know if you had seen it.
I was watching live.
Yeah, great. I mean, so Jeff just hit him with his leg, so the full weight of his body didn't go onto him, because he just, once again, we tried to protect Devon at all costs, and Jeff clipped his head a little bit on the rung. So Jeff kind of sacrificed himself just to make sure Devon was good.
That being said, Devon, Bubba Ray, they left. You guys seem to be in a renaissance, though. The Big Gay Brunch, right around the corner. You've had 7 successful Big Gay Brunches under the GCW banner. Heading into the 8th in Tampa right now, let's kind of dive into the origins of it. Let's go hop in the Wayback Machine, go back a couple years now, and you're on the eve of starting the first Big Gay Brunch. Let's talk about that a little bit and the origins of where the concept came from and where, how we got here.
So I think as I was kind of getting in with GCW and, figuring out my place there, what I noticed was if you're kind of loud and confident, you can get things done. And I think, it's something I admire in Brett, that he sort of looks for people to be able to, not just mention something once and it gets done, but mention something and then have a plan and have an idea that you continue to stick with. And so I kind of brought it up first as sort of a flight of fancy of, hey, I'm going to do my own version of Joey Janela's Big Spring Break, and I'm going to do a Big Gay Brunch show. And the idea originally, and I think we've stuck to a lot of that, was obviously to uplift a lot of the LGBTQ talent that was not getting booked, that I thought was talented, that were kind of getting crumbs, especially for the LGBTQ shows that I was working. There was always pay discrepancies. There was always issues with travel. There was always the idea that you should just be happy y'all are getting anything. And of course there's going to be problems, but you should keep it to yourself, and wanting to keep your own ego and pride up and going and saying, all right, well, I think we could do this and be able to pay people fairly, put people on the scene and give them a spotlight, and also have these sort of party fun atmosphere of I know as a young homosexual, remembering the first few times you go to a gay club and you're like, oh God, they have fun. They actually have fun. It's not just a sense of reverence, but it's the sense of, we party better than you. We have a better time than you. We know how to have more fun than you. Let's showcase that, as well as being able to showcase these up and coming talents, and also be able to kind of give flowers to the people who have been around. And then the very first one, it got canceled because of COVID, but we also ran into issues because people were sending in death threats to the venue that we were using. And we ended up having to have a statewide investigation into domestic terrorism threats, because people were threatening to show up and just shoot the event up or shoot me up. And this was multiple occasions this was happening. And I was sort of like, oh shit, are we in over our head? And I remember the first time they sort of said to me, I thought I would be in trouble because, they were getting mad over a promo I did where I said, listen, if you come to my event, and you do homophobic stuff, I'm going to beat your ass in the streets until you bleed. And I was basically told that under the protection of me being a fictional character as Effy, I can say whatever I want. Like beyond free speech, I can say whatever I want. It shouldn't be treated as absolute truth. So they were investigated for that. Nothing ever came of it because the event was obviously canceled. But it sort of also opened the door to me going like, oh, I can kind of say whatever I want. And I think it empowered me to be even louder about these events, be even louder about, you know, our placement in the industry. Instead of just saying, hey, we have our spot over here, I wanted to be loud enough to where it sort of changed the booking of what was going on across the board. And I think if you know, I'm not going to sit here and say like I've changed everything, but I think if you look at where wrestling was and where wrestling is, it looks different because I exist. And I think that that's like a very cool thing to be able to look at. It doesn't mean the fight is done. It doesn't mean we're done, you know, trying to push and change what's going on. I mean, you're looking at, you know, WWE, if Sonya is not there, they don't have a single out gay person on TV right now. AEW, you know, they got rid of Sonny Kiss. They've been featuring a non-binary talent like Abaddon more. They've been featuring a trans talent like Nyla Rose more. There does seem to be a little more, you know, LGBTQ representation with people like Diamante, people like Kira Hogan that are there on the show. But it does still feel like we're banging the door down. You know, I look at what Impact has been able to do with Giselle Shaw and with Jay Vidal, and, you know, seeing a lot of these people that have been previously featured on the show get bigger opportunities, get more bookings on shows that aren't LGBTQ exclusive, sort of being able to just showcase like, yeah, people will come see these people. They can do more than you think. They're not just little niche, you know, silly acts. They're more than just the sideshow, and you're allowed to book them in stuff that is serious. And seeing a performer, you know, for example, like Billy Dixon, who was able to have, you know, one of, I think, you know, the way he put it was one of the first all black death matches, you know, with him and AJ Gray when they were in Florida doing the dog collar match with the blood, with everything else. Seeing them, you know, open up as a performer, they're running their own shows now, able to do things with IWTV, able to have meaningful feuds and storylines and things that make sense. It's just really, I think it's important to have that platform for people, but it's also like kind of, hey, well, duh, I told y'all. And seeing that come into fruition is like, it's been really magical. And I'm not saying anybody owes me any of their success, but it's just very nice to know, like, I was right. These people are very good at professional wrestling and weren't being given the chances to showcase who they were. And for a lot of times, I think people are coming to our shows and seeing these performers who for the first time are being told, I booked you for you. I trust you to do what you're going to do, and not tell them exactly how they have to appear or how they have to come across or what their angle needs to be. You know, I'm kind of giving them free reign, and it's sink or swim in a lot of ways. But, you know, most of these people know how to swim, and they've swam through bigger issues in their life, you know, being a person who is out in LGBTQ and in the way that they are, than just being able to perform on a stage. So I think when you give people, you know, the ability to show what they have actually going on, it gives them a better, you know, full scope, rather than, hey, we know you're a gay person, we want to feature a gay person. That's great, come in. Now they're seeing that there's so many facets and so many different LGBTQ performers. You know, someone like Maxi Impaler has continued to have success, you know, not because of me, but getting to highlight them on the show has been absolutely magical. Getting to do a main event with Maxi Impaler after doing a double cage match, War Games match, was absolutely incredible. And now seeing them, you know, sort of break the barriers like they did in Ring of Honor, like they're doing in NWA, like they're doing overseas and TJPW. It's crazy and wild. And, you know, if we're not going to keep laying down the smackdown and saying, we know what we're doing, you need to listen to us, we're not going to get those opportunities. And so I hope it empowers the performer as well to go, no, I have seen this work, I know this works, and if you don't think it works, I'll go somewhere where it does. And the people go, hold on, wait, we don't want to lose you. And I want people to have that sort of, you know, fuck Hulk Hogan, but having the energy of, no, I know this is good stuff. You can either take it or leave it. And when people say that for the first time, they're finding out in a lot of cases, hey, they do need us there. They do want us there. And we are providing results.